Thank you. It's like this is your life. I've never seen a bio that lengthy. Thank you for taking the time to research it. So yes, my name is Michelle Jarman-Howe. I want to thank Steve, Mark, and members of the NEC for the invitation to speak here today. This is my first POA conference as Interim Director General of Operations, and it's a genuine pleasure and a privilege to join you all. I just might adjust this microphone down a bit. I'm very conscious coming to speak to you today that I'm following in some large, quite literally, footsteps. Phil Coppell was here, of course, this time last year, and I promise I won't be able to beat his time today. I understand he set somewhat of a record, speaking for over an hour last year. I am shorter than Phil and I talk less, I think is the message I would give to you, but it's still a privilege. I did want to take the opportunity to recognise the contribution of our former Director Generals, both Amy Rees and Phil Coppell. It was my privilege to serve with both of them over many decades, particularly with Phil, who I worked with for years in his service. It was an honour for me to learn from them. Their integrity and commitment to public service has helped to shape me as a leader. They always led HMPPS with integrity and commitment, and with the benefit of the operation at their heart. We're very, very fortunate to have benefited from their courage and resilience during their time as Director Generals. I also want to take a moment to recognise someone who I know will be important to all of you in this room, and that's Jo Simpson. As a former prison officer, Jo understood this job, this service, and the people that do it. The recent naming of Simpson House in his honour, well, sorry that I wasn't able to go to that, but I know we sent a representative. Was a very fitting tribute to someone who's always had the best interest of the prison service and the POA at heart. So I want to take the time today to introduce a bit about myself to you, but also talk about the priorities about where we are as an organisation. Underpinning everything I say today, though, because I do want to talk a bit about the future and a bit about progress, is a recognition that this does remain an extremely challenging time for the service and for the organisation. There are grounds for optimism, but I want to recognise the work that prison officers and OSGs do every single day in complex, pressured and often unpredictable environments. The continued role of the POA, of course, is vital as a challenging but constructive voice during this period. So as you heard during the very lengthy bio, I started my career at HMP Holloway, and it was indeed, as Steve noted, it was indeed quite a welcome into HMPPS. I then went on to serve at Belmarsh, Maidstone, Wayland, Huel or Blakenhurst, as it was now known then, governed High Point, became an area manager, became Deputy Director for Prisons, before taking over as Executive Director of Operations for the South, Chief Operating Officer for Prisons, and now as DG Operations. I have spent the vast majority of my service, some over 30 years now, leading or working in prison operations. HMPPS, and particularly the prison service, means a huge amount to me personally. It has been my life's work being part of this organisation. And despite the frustrations and challenges, which I know many of you experience, and I can assure you, no matter how senior you become in this organisation, there continue to be frustrations and challenges. But I've never felt anything but pride for the service that I belong to and the people that I serve with, including all of you. The history and shared sense of duty and service in this organisation is why I've remained in the job even during the most difficult of times. I'm also very proud to be a senior operational woman in this service. In many of my roles, including this one, I have been the first woman. I take no credit for that. I have stood on the shoulders of many brilliant women who came before me and helped to pave the way. But as a result of their efforts, and also the result of efforts of the prison service and indeed the NEC, supported by the POA, I know that I may be the first woman in a number of these roles, but I certainly won't be the last. I know particularly that the POA hosted a very successful event last year, Women's Conference this year indeed. And it's personally very important to me that events like that are able to continue, and no matter where you come from in the service, where you come from in your background, whatever characteristics you might have, that you are welcome in this organisation. HMPPS stands for justice, we stand for fairness, and we stand for ensuring that the services we provide and the culture we create is a fair one. So on that theme, I know that Jennifer Rademacher came and spoke to conference last year. I understand that she was very, very well received, and she described the work of changing the culture and organisation of HMPPS as a journey, and that is, of course, exactly what it is. But we are making progress on that journey. In January, we launched the Independent Review, Resolution and Investigation Service, or IRIS as it's known, across HMPPS. This gives staff a confidential, independent route to raise concerns about bullying, harassment, discrimination or victimisation outside of line management structures. It also puts us in a strong position to roll out enhanced grievance, conduct and disciplinary policies later this year, following, of course, consultation with the POA and other trade unions. We know, and I know the POA stand with us, that we want a workplace that is free from intimidation, harassment and discrimination, and I thank sincerely the leadership of the POA and all of you here for your efforts to support that ambition. One of the joys of this role is that I do get to go out and see a lot of prisons. And often, of course, I'm pulled into the establishments that are facing difficulty, but everywhere I go, no matter how difficult that establishment might be, I also see good practice as well as challenges. I don't do royal tours on my visits. I'm always very grateful to receive a prison officer or a CM to show me around with a set of keys, and we go wherever the day takes us. And every visit, I meet exceptional staff doing a hard job very well. A few weeks ago, I was particularly pleased to visit HMP Frankland, a year on from the appalling incident in their separation centre that left 3 officers very seriously injured. I want to say I was so impressed by that prison. I was so impressed by the culture and the heart and the staff in that prison and the professionalism and determination to how they had responded to an incident that shook us all. I know that you're hearing from Jonathan Hall tomorrow, but I do welcome that the Deputy Prime Minister accepted the recommendations of his report in full, with a clear focus on improving staff safety and strengthening the operation in the LTHSE specifically. More broadly on safety, I know Lord Timpson has spoken a bit about this already today, so I won't talk about the investment, etc., but I do want to build on the importance of safety from an operational perspective. I know from many years working in prisons myself that violence is not an abstract thing, it is not data, it is not just performance, and that each incident affects individuals, families, and all of those staff who respond on the day. I know the impact that it has on your feeling about going to work in the morning, and I know the feeling that you can't always shake off at the end of a difficult shift. Safety is and will always be my top operational priority, but it is not a simple thing to deliver. Sometimes, of course, more equipment can help, and we'll seek to achieve that wherever we can, but the operation of safe and effective prisons is not a simple process or a simple recipe. But safe, well-ordered prisons is the foundation on which everything else is built, and I recognise that, and I commit to that, and did as Chief Operating Officer, and do whilst I'm in the DG role. There are some areas of safety performance where we are seeing improved outcomes, so there is, of course, a very welcome reduction in assaults on staff over the course of this year, but I'm also realistic about this, and I'm realistic about the seriousness of some of those assaults, and we have to do everything we can to keep staff safe at a local and national level to improve safety outcomes. We will, and I will, continue to support this work with practical measures, whether it was defending the judicial review into the use of PAVA, and we've got Ed Cormel, who was fundamental to that last year, who I know is in the audience, building on continued use in the adult estate alongside development of SPEAR, implementation of body-worn cameras, PBA in the long-term high security estate, and of course deployed dynamically wherever needed. We've made real success around availability of cameras, which are providing high-quality evidence to support prosecutions and reinforce accountability. We've also, I know, following a long campaign by the POA, completed the removal of wet shave razors in the adult male clothes estate. And I know that we need to stay on top of emerging risks too, so whether that's synthetic opioids, the increased use of drones, serious organised crime, and alongside improving physical security. I welcome the investment that the government has made in these areas, and will continue, of course, to strive to encourage this government and future governments to continue that investment. It is something where we will need to innovate in order to kind of keep ahead of the market as it changes. I also want to recognise, on the theme of safety, the outstanding work, commitment and professionalism of all prison staff and prison officers in supporting the risk of those at risk of self-harm and suicide. And you're doing an outstanding job. The latest safety in custody statistics published at the end of April show that self-inflicted deaths have fallen by 28% in the last year, from 93 to 67, with self-harm also decreasing. But I recognise the personal impact that has on all of you in managing those high-risk prisoners. I know what it is to open a cell door and cut down a body. I know the impact that that has on individuals who are doing those difficult roles. I can't go through a speech, of course, without mentioning population, although I'm very hoping that sometime soon I might be able to do a speech without mentioning population crisis. We are, of course, beginning to see the impact of the Sentencing Act as it makes its way, having received royal assent in January. Implementation is now underway. We've had the first changes to the fixed-term recall, and I know there'll be mixed views about that from yourselves in the audience. But the reality is, with that and the changes to the progression model, it is creating headway. So as of this morning, we've got slightly over 3,000 spaces in the adult male estate. What I wouldn't have given for that in 2 years ago, in 2024, when all through that summer we were working hard, frankly, to keep our head above water. What matters in terms of having those spaces is what we do with them, of course, ensuring that we take the opportunity to improve safety, regime stability, and the ability for all prison officers and prison staff to do their job well. I recognise, of course, that all of the benefits that are coming from the bill come at the end of a period of massive strain, and the worst population crisis that I personally, and all of you, I'm sure, have experienced in the last 30 years, and I've seen a number of population crises. I do want to recognise throughout this time, as difficult as it has been, the extremely difficult and hard work of staff, particularly those working in receptions, particularly in local prisons, particularly those in OMUs and population management teams, who frankly have helped to keep the whole of the justice system functioning. I want to finish briefly by talking about recruitment, retention and capability and what comes next. So whilst the position is not even across the country, I know that many of you are feeling the daily impact of vacancies. I do take a personal interest in this. I'm meeting on it weekly. It was my priority too as Chief Operating Officer. We are focusing our efforts on recruitment in those establishments that need it most through schemes like First Deployment, the Prison Officer Alumni Scheme, fast-tracking experienced prison officers back into the system, but also OSG to officer conversions. Earlier this year, we had the Extraordinary Jobs campaign that launched nationally again through national advertising. We have covered every site that requires vacancies, and as a result of that, we're currently seeing an unprecedented level of applications to be prison officer. Our task in all of this, of course, is how we manage to maintain the bar at the right level, keep the bar high, whilst also ensuring that good candidates are able to get through the process as quickly as possible. I know that vetting delays are causing a real impact on the front line. We're trying to make progress on that. We've got a dedicated task force in place with increased resource, and we are seeing backlogs reduce. And we're also making some changes to the process to improve timeliness, but continuing, of course, to maintain those standards, which I know matter as much to you as they do to me. And retention matters as well as recruitment, of course. I'm pleased to share that resignation rates amongst prison officers are the lowest at the moment that they have been in 4 years. That means that levels of experience, of course, will continue to increase as we've seen this year. I do want to acknowledge the impact of changes to the immigration rules last year. We worked very, very hard. I'm very grateful to the POA for all of the support in our work with the Home Office to ensure a time-limited exemption for the prison officer role was put in place. That recognises how essential the role of prison officer is to public safety. And as I say, I'm very, very grateful to the POA, particularly, and other unions who are very supportive of us in that endeavour. I want to say how grateful we remain to staff who support other establishments to detach duty, but we remain committed, obviously, to filling vacancies and reducing reliance on it. My final comment is just around building staff capability and confidence, which is critical, of course, to running a safe establishment. For those of you who have experience in the system, I do value that. I value the support that you provide to colleagues. Enable, of course, is working at the moment to ensure that we're able to upskill Band 3 prison officers, but also first-line managers and governors, because those skills are important whichever grade you're at. Nearly 1,000 staff have already taken part in Enable learning delivered in live prison environments with a strong emphasis on relational skills. Looking ahead, of course, we'll also be strengthening additional training and induction, and we're keen to continue to engage with the POA on that. We all know how important basic training is. We also all know the limits of basic training, no matter how good it is, and the importance of being well received into a prison when you arrived. My priorities are those that I've spoken about today, so safety, supported by purposeful regimes, security, building staff capability, and professional standards. There is more to do from all of us, but there is reasons to be cautiously optimistic. Capacity is stabilising, investment is being sustained, performance in some areas is improving, and I recognise that none of this is possible without the support of you and your membership. I will continue to work closely with the POA and constructively and encourage constructive engagement both at a national and local level. I want to finish by thanking all of you, all of the branches that you represent, all of you yourselves, colleagues nationally, for the work that you do every day on behalf of members, sometimes in extremely difficult circumstances. I'm very proud to serve with you in the prison service. I thank you for your work, I thank you for your professionalism, and I thank you for listening. And I'm happy to take some questions, Mark.
Thank you, Michelle. Please show your appreciation for Michelle. I'm just wondering, Michelle, you've been temporarily promoted now for over 12 months. What's happening with your job? Is it staying? Is it getting advertised? Have we made a decision yet?
So I think hopefully we'll have some news on the substantive structures in the coming weeks. We'll let you know. As POA, I'm personally very motivated to ensure that we move to a substantive position. I recognise that the last year will have created a sense of uncertainty. We've tried to create a sense of stability, though. You still have the same management structure. I've been here and around this organisation for a long time. I intend to stay with us for a long time, so hopefully that gives you a sense of stability.
I was pleased to hear you say that you want improved outcomes for safety. But in the female estate, assaults on staff have risen by 9%. They have zero protection whatsoever. In the open estate, they're experiencing more violence with the type of people we're sending there. They have no protection. So can we agree and commit to rolling out PAVA in the female and open estate?
So I think what I would say, Mark, is that and I do recognise the changes to the open estate, of course. What I would say is that the door isn't closed. We talk about this, and we talked about it when we were rolling out PBA in the high security estate following the incidents last year, is that we follow the evidence about where we think that equipment will make the most difference. And we also, of course, listen to staff as well as members. You'll know as well as I do that staff have mixed views around some areas of personal protection equipment. But I'm absolutely committed to continuing to work with you wherever we've got evidence that that might be required and will have the right outcome. I'm very, very happy to continue to have those conversations. And yes, you do have my commitment to undertake all steps to try and ensure that we keep staff safe. It isn't just about equipment, though. It is about making sure we've got skilled staff in place as well.
I just want to touch on inefficiency processes.
Sure. Because
of the Crapper debacle, there's an order gone out to every governor to pause the inefficiency processes until a formal and official estimate of compensation is provided by the pension administrator. Your governors, some of them, are ignoring that order. They're still taking people through the farm process and are still dismissing people on inefficiency despite being told to pause that process. What are you going to do to those governors who refuse that order? Because if the people in front of you refused an order, they'd be getting disciplined.
So let me start with, I mean, it's appalling, really, that we've ended up in these circumstances in the first place in terms of what's happened with Capita and because this is where this generates from, the need to pause it, to pause those medical retirements. And I just want to take the moment, if I can, to kind of recognise the impact that all of the pension arrangements, as well as the medical retirement arrangements, the impact that that's having on individual members. And and I apologise for that, despite the fact that the prison service can't do anything really to move that on. But in terms of your specific question, Mark, I'm always very happy, as I've said to you, and always say to you when you want to raise issues like this, if you let me know the sites where that's a challenge, I'm very happy to follow up with those individual governors. We have issued the guidance. We do expect governors to maintain that. And I'm very happy to follow up separately if you want to drop me a line or pick me up. I obviously can't discuss individual cases on the stage, but very happy to follow up with that.
Well, that's very welcome, and I'm sure I'll get loads of emails from my colleagues in front of you now you've said that. You're taking a personal interest in recruitment and retention. It's the retention I'm worried about. At the end of 2027, if we don't raise the salary of prison officers, we're going to lose 2,500 staff. Why don't you just raise the starting salary of a basic grade prison officer to £42,000 a year to alleviate this issue? Yeah, I mean, I absolutely kind of recognise the strength of feeling from yourself and, of course, from all of you around pay. We have, as you know, got processes in place to establish the kind of fair pay for the service. But we continue to commit to working with you. Mark, we've got a meeting with you, I think, in the coming weeks in terms of looking at next year's pay round. The process for that with the PSPRB is already in place. But I do recognise, of course, that you will want to continue to raise that issue and continue to raise that issue with government. I guess I put it in the context of public sector pay more generally in comparison with us and police and border force. We are looking quite competitive at the moment. I recognise that you will want more for your members, and I ideally would want more for staff as well, but we are part of a pay process that is well established. I continue to hope that you'll engage with PSPRB as we will, and if there are areas, as there were this year, like PP, for example, where we can go again next year, and joint evidence for increased payments in areas such as like that, I'm very, very happy to work with you to try and achieve a better outcome. What I would say, though, on the pay is what I'm very pleased is that we are able to get it in pay packets sooner. And in June this year and July last, we'll continue to work on being able to bring that forward. But yes, absolutely recognise the importance of the issue for you. Well, the pay is not that competitive, Michelle, because we keep losing people to other industries. And the people in front of you are working excessive amounts of payment plus to make ends meet. So it really does need to be sorted out. And I hope I'm not meeting your officials after you meet the pay review body, because I won't be in the best of moods. So we have got a gift for you, Michelle, as a token of our appreciation. And I always go to the Rock Shop. And I was walking around the Rock Shop looking at all these flavours and thinking, oh, Michelle, what am I going to get you? But, you know, you look like a pink gin type of girl to me. So I got you a pink gin flavoured rock, and we got you a little gift. Conference, Michelle, Jarman-Howe.
Thank you.